Hey Y&R fans! Welcome to Y&R Trends, your young and the restless updates, shocking spoilers, and all the drama. So grab your coffee, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive right into Genoa City's hottest gossip. When the news first began to circulate behind the closed doors at CBS, it wasn't about contracts, storylines, or even the constant chatter of ratings that usually fills the air around daytime drama. This time, it was personal. Amelia Heinle, the woman who for nearly 2 decades has embodied the complicated, ambitious, and vulnerable Victoria Newman on The Young and the Restless, had just received medical results that no one was prepared for. The word cancer hit her like a sharp crack of thunder in the middle of a quiet afternoon. She had gone into the appointment telling herself it was probably nothing, just a routine check, maybe stress, maybe exhaustion from long days on set. But as the doctor quietly read out the findings, the room seemed to shrink. She couldn't hear every single word, but she heard enough. It was real, it was serious, and it was going to change her life forever. Back in her car afterward, she sat with the engine off, hands frozen on the steering wheel. It was then that the tears came, not graceful or controlled, but a raw flood of fear and disbelief. Amelia wasn't just crying for herself, she was crying for her children, for the thought of losing time she hadn't yet lived, for the career that had carried her and defined her for so long, and for the possibility that this chapter of her life would be written in pain rather than triumph. In the world of soap operas, characters survive kidnappings, explosions, betrayals, and deadly diseases all the time, but this wasn't scripted. This was real. And for the first time in her professional life, Amelia Heinle found herself unsure if she had the strength to keep acting when the real-life script felt so unbearable. When word reached the set, the atmosphere shifted immediately. The cast and crew of The Young and the Restless had always been more than colleagues, they had become a kind of second family. They spent endless hours together, living inside the fictional world of Genoa City, but that day, nobody could concentrate on blocking scenes or memorizing lines. Joshua Morrow, who has played her brother Nick for years, walked over to her dressing room and sat down quietly beside her without a word. He didn't try to fix it, didn't try to say something inspiring, because sometimes there are no right words. Instead, he let Amelia cry against his shoulder, reminding her that she wasn't going to face this alone. Behind the scenes, conversations began to stir that no one wanted to have. Would Amelia need to step away from the show? Could she balance treatment with the grueling filming schedule? The executives at CBS understood immediately that her health came first, but the weight of her potential absence hit like a blow to the heart of the show. Victoria Newman isn't just another character, she is one of the central pillars of the Newman dynasty, the daughter of Victor Newman, the heiress whose battles, romances, and ambitions have defined the drama of Y&R for decades. Losing Amelia in that role would be like pulling out one of the foundation stones of the series. For Amelia, the decision didn't come overnight. She wrestled with it, turning it over and over in her mind during sleepless nights. On one hand, work had always been her refuge. Stepping onto the set, becoming Victoria, had often allowed her to leave behind her personal struggles, to lose herself in a role that demanded intensity and focus. But cancer is different. Cancer doesn't clock out at the end of the day, and it doesn't wait patiently for the director to call cut. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that continuing to work at the same pace might not just be difficult, it could be impossible. The breaking point came one morning when she tried to film a particularly emotional scene opposite Eric Braeden, the legendary actor who has embodied Victor Newman for more than 40 years. The script called for her to confront him with all the fury and heartbreak of a daughter at war with her father. Normally, Amelia could deliver such a moment with precision, slipping into Victoria's skin like it was second nature. But that day, the weight of her diagnosis sat like a stone on her chest. Her voice cracked, not with the rehearsed emotion of the character, but with her own fear. Tears spilled down her face, and suddenly the lines didn't matter. Eric, recognizing what was happening, stopped mid-scene. He reached out, placed a hand on hers, and whispered so only she could hear, "You don't have to do this right now." The cameras stopped rolling. The crew stood in silence. Amelia buried her face in her hands, sobbing openly, as the reality of her situation collided with her work. That moment told her everything she needed to know. Her body and her heart were demanding a pause. When she finally sat down with the producers to make her decision, the room was filled with a heavy quiet. She told them she needed to step away from The Young and the Restless, not because she didn't love it, not because she didn't want to be there, but because she had to fight for her life. The executives, to their credit, didn't push back. They assured her that her job would always be there if she wanted to return, but Amelia knew this wasn't a temporary leave she could fully commit to. With tears streaming down her face, she admitted that this felt like goodbye. News of her departure leaked slowly at first, whispered among fans who noticed Victoria Newman missing from news spoilers or upcoming scripts. But when the official announcement came, it sent shockwaves through the soap world. Amelia Heinle departs The Young and the Restless following cancer diagnosis. The headline spread across social media like wildfire. Fans who had grown up with her, who had watched Victoria navigate marriages, betrayals, corporate wars, and family feuds, were left in disbelief. Many didn't want to accept it. Some clung to the hope that maybe she'd return after treatment. Others wept openly online, sharing memories of the first time they saw her step into the role back in 2005. For Amelia, the messages from fans became both a comfort and a burden. Thousands of letters, emails, and posts poured in, offering prayers, encouragement, and stories of survival. She read many of them through blurred eyes, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of love being directed her way. But at the same time, it reminded her just how much was at stake, not just for her own life, but for the legacy she was leaving behind on a show that had defined her career. She often whispered to herself late at night, "Victoria Newman is bigger than me. She'll live on no matter what happens to me." Yet deep down, she knew that fans didn't just love the character, they loved her in that role. They loved the nuance, the steel wrapped in vulnerability, the fire she brought to every boardroom and every family fight. As the days went on, her absence was felt everywhere. On set, the writers scrambled to adjust storylines, shifting arcs to cover the hole left behind. Scenes that had been built around Victoria had to be rewritten, and other characters suddenly found themselves pushed into storylines that weren't originally meant for them. Eric Braeden, who had built one of the most iconic father-daughter dynamics in soap history with Amelia, admitted in a private interview that the thought of filming without her felt like losing a piece of my own heart. He spoke of Amelia not just as a co-star, but as a daughter in spirit. "She has given so much of herself to this role," he said, his voice breaking. "And now it's our turn to give her the strength to face what's ahead." Amelia herself tried to stay quiet publicly. She never wanted to be the center of tabloid speculation. But eventually, she shared a short, heartfelt message to her fans. In it, she didn't go into detail about her diagnosis, but she did admit that she was stepping away to focus on her health and her family. "This isn't the ending I imagined," she wrote, "but sometimes life writes its own story. Thank you for letting me be part of yours for so many years as Victoria Newman. I love you all." The response was overwhelming. Social media timelines filled with clips of her most powerful scenes, montages created by fans who wanted to honor her journey. Fellow cast members posted photos with her, accompanied by heartfelt captions about the memories they had shared. Michelle Stafford, Bryton James, Melody Thomas Scott, and countless others publicly poured out their love, calling her one of the strongest women they had ever known. It became clear that Amelia wasn't just a coworker to them, she was family. Her tears in that doctor's office had started as private grief, but they had rippled outward, touching the hearts of millions. The soap community, known for its passionate devotion, rallied around her in a way that few industries can. And while the future of Victoria Newman on The Young and the Restless remains uncertain, whether she will be recast, written out, or left waiting in the wings, there is no uncertainty about Amelia Heinle's legacy. She has forever marked the canvas of daytime television with her talent, her grace, and now, her courage in facing life's hardest battle. The world of daytime television is built upon a foundation of heightened emotion, a daily tapestry woven with threads of melodrama, suspense, and personal tragedy. It is a medium designed to elicit a visceral response from its audience, to make viewers feel a part of the extended, albeit chaotic, lives of the characters they invite into their homes each day. Yet, sometimes, the line between the crafted fiction on screen and the raw, human emotion required to bring it to life becomes profoundly blurred, creating a moment of pure, unscripted vulnerability that transcends the narrative itself. Such a moment occurred surrounding the storyline On the Young and the Restless involving Victoria Newman's cancer scare, a plot that culminated in a powerful scene where the character received her results. The actor behind Victoria, Amelia Heinle, in a testament to her deep connection with her character and the weight of the material, reportedly burst into tears after the filming of this critical scene, a cathartic release that speaks volumes about the actor's process, the nature of soap opera storytelling, and the surprising emotional authenticity that can emerge from within a world of calculated fiction. To fully appreciate the significance of this moment, one must first understand the architectural framework of the soap opera genre and the specific history of the character of Victoria Newman. Soap operas, by their very nature, are engines of perpetual crisis. They thrive on placing their characters in increasingly dramatic and often traumatic situations, romantic entanglements, corporate betrayals, amnesia, kidnappings, and, of course, life-threatening illnesses. These plots are not merely for shock value, they are the lifeblood of the format, designed to test characters to their absolute limits and, in doing so, reveal their core essence. A cancer storyline, in particular, is a hallmark of the genre. It is a universal fear, a humanizing ordeal that can strip away the layers of power, wealth, and arrogance a character may possess and expose their fundamental vulnerability. For a character like Victoria Newman, a titan of industry, a woman who has been defined by her last name, her inheritance, her fierce intelligence, and her often impenetrable armor of self-assurance, a health crisis represents the ultimate threat. It is a problem she cannot solve with a hostile takeover, a cunning business strategy, or a sharp retort. It is a battle fought within the confines of her own body, a realm where her considerable power is rendered meaningless. This inherent conflict is what makes such storylines so potent. They force the powerful to become powerless, the caregiver to become the cared for, and the controller to relinquish control. Amelia Heinle, who has portrayed Victoria Newman since 2005, stepped into a role with a rich and complex history. Victoria is a legacy character, the daughter of the show's patriarch, Victor Newman, and his first wife, Julia Newman. From her inception, she was written as a strong, independent, and at times, deeply flawed individual, often mirroring her father's ruthless business acumen and stubbornness while grappling with her own desires for love and family stability. Heinle's interpretation of Victoria has explored every facet of this complexity. She has navigated multiple marriages, bitter divorces, corporate wars with her family, and the constant struggle to emerge from her father's immense shadow to become a powerhouse in her own right. Over nearly 2 decades, Heinle has built Victoria into a formidable presence, a woman whose emotional displays are often calculated, whose tears are rarely shed in public, and whose vulnerability is a closely guarded secret. Therefore, the prospect of a cancer scare is not just a medical issue for the character, it is an existential one. It attacks the very foundation of her identity. The preparation for such a storyline requires an actor to delve into the deepest, most fearful parts of themselves to find the truth of the character's terror. It involves a process of emotional mining, of connecting with personal and universal fears of mortality, of leaving children behind, of pain and suffering. This process is inherently draining. An actor like Heinle does not simply recite lines, she must authentically feel the character's dread, hope, and despair to make it believable for the audience. The scene in question, where Victoria receives her medical results, would have been the climax of this building anxiety. The writing, direction, and performance would have all converged to create a pressure cooker of emotion. Every second of waiting for the doctor to speak would feel like an eternity. The audience, along with Victoria, would be reading every micro-expression on the doctor's face, hanging on every word. The performance in such a scene is a high-wire act. It requires a controlled unraveling. The actor must show the character's attempt to maintain composure, the deep breath, the clenched hands, the steadying of the voice, while simultaneously allowing the audience to see the sheer terror raging just beneath the surface. It is in this gap between the outward calm and the inner tsunami that truly great soap opera acting resides. Heinle, known for her nuanced and understated performances, would have undoubtedly approached this moment with a profound sense of responsibility, not just to the storyline, but to the real-life individuals in the audience who have faced that exact same moment in a doctor's office, waiting for news that would irrevocably change their lives. This responsibility adds an immense weight to the performance. It is therefore not only understandable but almost inevitable that upon the director's call of cut, the emotional dam would break. The reported image of Amelia Heinle bursting into tears after the scene was completed is a powerful illustration of the actor's hangover, the residual emotional state that lingers after performing intensely draining material. It is a sign of a job done well, of an actor who has given every ounce of her emotional truth to the moment. She had to hold Victoria's fear, her character's entire history of strength and resilience crumbling in the face of potential mortality, within herself for the duration of the scene. The release of that character's emotion becomes intertwined with her own. This is not a sign of weakness, it is the hallmark of a committed and empathetic artist. It demonstrates that Heinle was not merely pretending but was truly living in Victoria's skin, feeling her vulnerability, and confronting a fictional fear with very real emotion. This blurring of lines is what gives the scene its power and authenticity. The audience may not have seen those specific tears, but they undoubtedly felt the raw, unvarnished emotion that generated them, translated through the screen in a performance that resonated with truth.